Good morning, everyone. I apologize for our extremely late start at 9:06, but as we know, today and tomorrow, it's deadline day, and a lot of moving and fluid things are happening. So, welcome to everyone here in Carson City. Welcome to anyone watching in Las Vegas or, excuse me, or online today. And with that, Secretary, please take the roll.
Assemblywoman Vilbray Axelrod. Assemblywoman Cohen.
Here.
Assemblywoman Considine.
Present.
Assemblywoman Gallant. Assemblyman Gray. Assemblywoman Hanson. Assemblywoman Hardy.
Here.
Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch. Assemblywoman Marzola.
Here.
Assemblywoman Mosca. Assemblywoman Newby. Assemblyman Ortlicker. Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong. Assemblyman Urick. Chair Miller.
Here. So with that, just a few housekeeping remarks. Again, please make sure that you're turning off your electronic devices. I guess, yes, make sure you're turning off your electronic devices. Today on the agenda has changed. So what I mean by changed is there are some bills on the agenda that will be rolled, and there are some bills that are not on the agenda that will be work sessioned. So what we also are looking at time, just to give everyone an idea, we do have floor today, so we most likely will do a recess and call of the chair and come back in this evening. We also, depending on how time goes now, those of us who know how this works, sometimes we're literally just waiting for the documents to be printed. So with that, we may need to take a brief recess this morning too as well. But with that, let's go ahead and get started with our work session and see how far we can get this morning. So with that, Ms. Thornton, I will ask you to go through Assembly Bill 117.
Thank you, Chair. Diane Thornton, Legislative Council Bureau for the record. Assembly Bill 117 makes various changes related to domestic terrorism, sponsored by Assemblywoman Howdy and heard in committee on April 4th. There's one proposed amendment to the bill. The amendment amends Section 2 by deleting the reference to NRS 207.337. It deletes Section 3 of the bill. It revises Section 4 to provide that the grant administration is within the Nevada Division of Emergency Management. Amends Section 6 by providing that the Chief of the Investigation Division shall, upon request, assist with investigating domestic terror activity. Deletes Section 6, subsection 11, revises the definition of act of terrorism, revises the crime of criminal anarchy, and revises the crime of criminal syndicalism. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. With that, members, are there any questions? Not seeing any questions, I will go ahead and entertain a motion for Assembly Bill 117.
Motion.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Assemblywoman Newby. With that, is there any additional conversation or comments on Assembly Bill 117? Not seeing any? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Nay. Okay, so let me go ahead, and we have our nays from Assemblywoman Hanson, Assemblywoman Gallant, Assemblyman Urick, Assemblyman Gray, and Assemblywoman Hardy. And with that, I will go ahead and assign the floor speech to Assemblywoman Considine. You're welcome. Ms. Thornton, will you walk us through Assembly Bill 227?
Assembly Bill 227 revises provisions relating to domestic relations, sponsored by Assemblywoman Cohen and heard in committee on March 7th. There's one proposed amendment to the bill. Jonathan Norman from the Nevada Coalition of Legal Service Providers proposed deleting Section 2 through 4 of the bill. It amends Section 5 to clarify when a marriage may be dissolved by summary procedure for annulment. Amend Section 6 to add an exception if NRS 125.360 applies. deletes sections 9 through 13 of the bill. It amends section 16 to provide that an action to determine custody of a child may be brought by summary procedure. It amends section 17 to provide that the agreement that the parties wish the court to approve or make part of the custody order must be included in the petition. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. And with that, members, are there any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 227. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola and a second from Assemblyman Gray. Is there any additional comments or statements on Assembly Bill, on the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, the motion passes unanimously, and I will assign that floor speech to Assemblywoman Cohen. Thank you, Chair. You're welcome. Ms. Thornton, Assembly Bill 244.
Assembly Bill 244 revises provisions relating to certain mental or physical examinations, sponsored by Assemblywoman Torres and heard in committee on March 9th. There's one proposed amendment from the Nevada Justice Association. The amendment provides that the substantive rights do not apply to a person compelled to submit to a physical examination pursuant to Title 5, Title 14, Title 15, or Chapter 432B of NRS. Provides that mental or physical examination does not include custody evaluations pursuant to Title 11, and it provides that this statute shall apply to all pending and future compelled exams upon enactment of the statute. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 244. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? Second from Assemblywoman Considine. Members, are there any additional comments about the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Nay. Okay, so can I have the hands up for nay? I see Assemblywoman Hanson, Assemblywoman Gallant, Assemblyman Gray, and Assemblywoman Hardy. With that, the motion passes, and I will assign that floor speech to Assemblywoman Torres. Ms. Thornton, will you please go over AB 354 for us?
Assembly Bill 354 revises provisions relating to firearms, sponsored by Assemblywoman Howdigy and heard in this committee on April 6th. There are two proposed amendments to the bill. Assemblywoman Howdigy proposed changing all references regarding 100 yards to 100 feet to mirror the Nevada election laws. Secondly, David Pacino, Deputy Chief Counsel with Giffords Law Center, proposed revising in Section 2, Subsection 5, the definition of a firearms importer or manufacturer. It restores the language in Section 2, Subsection 9. It deletes Section 2, Subsection 9B and replaces it with a new definition of ready frame or receiver. It adds a new section to the bill to amend certain sections of NRS. It provides that nothing in the provisions of NRS 202-3625 to 202-364 inclusive shall be deemed to prohibit the possession of a ready frame or receiver or market frame or receiver before January 1st, 2024, if the said ready frame or receiver or market frame or receiver was lawfully possessed on September 30th, 2023. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. With that, members, are there any questions on Assembly Bill 354? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. And I already had a second before. Who is the second from over here? Assemblywoman Mosca. With that, is there any additional comments? No comments? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Nay. Okay, so we have a nay from Assemblywoman Hanson, Assemblywoman Gallant, Assemblyman Urick, Assemblyman Gray, and Assemblywoman Hardy. With that, the motion passes, and I will assign that floor speech to Assemblywoman Howdigy. Ms. Thornton, Assembly Bill 355.
Assembly Bill 355 revises provisions relating to firearms, sponsored by Assemblywoman Howdigy. There's one proposed amendment to this bill. Assemblywoman Howdiggy proposed amending Section 1, subsection 4 to provide that the provisions do not apply to a member of the armed forces who's under 21 years of age, an honorably discharged member of the armed forces, or a law enforcement officer who is employed by a federal, state, or local law enforcement agency. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. With that, members, are there any questions about Assembly Bill 355? Not seeing any. I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 355. Okay, I have a motion by Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? A second from Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod. Members, are there any comments about the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Nay. Okay, we have as our nays Assemblywoman Hanson, Assemblywoman Gallant, Assemblyman Urick, Assemblyman Gray, and Assemblywoman Hardy. And with that, the motion passes, and I will assign that floor speech to Assemblywoman Howdiggy. Ms. Thornton, please walk us through Assembly Bill 356.
Assembly Bill 356 enacts provisions relating to mobile tracking devices, sponsored by Assemblywoman Dickman. There's two proposed amendments. The first amendment, Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch proposed an amendment revising the exceptions in Section 1 of the bill by deleting subsections 2B, which relates to a manufacturer of a motor vehicle, and 2C, which relates to a creditor. The second amendment, Assemblywoman Dickman proposed adding co-sponsor to the bill. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? Not seeing any questions. I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 356. Motion. I have a motion by Vice Chair Marzola and a second by Assemblywoman Gallant. Members, are there any comments on Assemblywoman Hanson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be yes in committee, hoping that we can do a little bit of work, maybe after this, to maybe provide for something I don't think that we had really paid attention to. I had signed on to this bill, hoping that we could maybe get, for law enforcement, some exigent circumstances in the language. So I'm certainly a yes at this point, hoping that we can do a little bit more work. So thank you.
Any other comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, the motion passes unanimously, and I will assign that floor speech to Assemblywoman Dickman. And let me do a time check right now. Okay, so right now for the few other additional bills that we're going to work session right now, they are online, they are on Nellis. We're waiting for the physical copies for the public. So what that means is we are not at recess, we are at ease. So we can like relax for a minute, but please don't leave the room. You all may leave the room. Members, do not leave the room. All right, we are at ease. Okay. So we're just waiting for her for the physical copies. I'll just. Okay, so so everyone can know which bills we are going to work session right now. It will be Assembly Bills 126, 148, 159, 414, 452, and 454. And I trust now that everyone in the public has the copies and opportunity to review. I will give members a couple more minutes to review over the work session documents. 126, 148, 159, 414, 452, and 454. You're welcome. And everyone, all the members, you all have the work session documents at this time? Oh, you do not have them yet. Okay, so then I will have you review them on Nellis, but again, we had to make sure we had them for the public.
They got emailed.
Oh, and they were emailed. Perfect, perfect. Okay, so with that, now that we have all members back, we will leave our relaxed state and continue. Ms. Thornton, will you walk us through Assembly Bill 126?
Thank you, Chair. Assembly Bill 126 revises provisions governing business entities, sponsored by Assemblyman Nguyen. There's one proposed amendment. Robert Kim, Chair, Business Law Section of the State Bar, proposed an amendment which does the following. It deletes Section 16 of the bill and provides similar changes to NRS 80.007 concerning the correction of a record filed with the Office of the Secretary of State. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you for that. Members, are there any questions? Not seeing any questions. I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 126. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second from Assemblywoman Newby. Members, are there any additional comments about the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion passes unanimously, and I will assign that floor speech to Assemblyman Nguyen. Ms. Thornton, please walk us through Assembly Bill 148.
Assembly Bill 148 revises provisions relating to child welfare, sponsored by Assemblywoman Marzola and heard in committee on March 21st. There's one proposed amendment from the Administrative Office of the Courts, and it does the following. It clarifies in Section 5, 6, and 7 that the magistrate is appointed by the court. It specifies that the proceeding under 432B, it provides in Section 9 and 32 that if the court determines by clear and convincing evidence that the parent is incapacitated, the court is required to appoint a guardian ad litem for the parent. Provides that the court must review an order appointing the guardian ad litem within 45 days of a request of any party. Provides that the evaluation is not specific to a psychiatric evaluation. It clarifies that the guardian ad litem may not take any action to relinquish parental rights. It adds a new section which provides that the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services are not required to modify its forms to conform the language to change to magistrate. It amends by adding a provision that allows any other party to the proceeding to make a motion for the person to be evaluated. It provides that a child welfare services agency must not place a child in a facility for the purpose of receiving non-emergency mental health treatment unless the agency has petitioned and the court has ordered. It amends Section 38 that if the child provides consent for treatment, the court is required to order a child's admission to facility. In addition, the court is required to conduct a hearing on the petition. Provides that if a child with an emotional disturbance is admitted to a facility under emergency admission and not released within 5 days, the agency is required to file a petition to continue the emergency admission. And finally, the requirements for the sworn written statement by the petitioner is amended. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. With that, members, are there any questions? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 148. Thank you. We have a motion from Assemblywoman Newby. Do we have a second? Second from Assemblywoman Considine. With that, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. I will assign that floor speech to Assemblywoman Marzola. Ms. Thornton, please walk us through Assembly Bill 159.
Assembly Bill 159 revises provisions relating to cruelty to animals, sponsored by Assemblyman O'Neill, and there are no amendments to this measure. Thank you, Chair.
Members, are there any questions about Assembly Bill 159? Not seeing any questions, I will entertain a motion for Assembly Bill 159. I have a motion from Assemblyman Gray. Do I have a second? I have a second. Seems like everyone's jumping for their minority leader. Like, good move, folks, right? But it's a good bill and a good move. I'll have a second from Assemblyman Urick. With that, is there any additional comments on the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. And I'm sorry you can't fight for the floor speech. I'm going to give it to Minority Leader O'Neill. So thank you for that, members. Ms. Thornton, please walk us through Assembly Bill 414.
Assembly Bill 414 revises provisions governing powers of attorney, sponsored by Assemblywoman Backus and heard in committee on April 11th. There is one proposed amendment. Assemblywoman Backus proposed an amendment with a very nice chart on the following pages that explains all the amendments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. She certainly did. Members, are there any are there any questions about Assembly Bill 414? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 414. I have a motion by Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? A second by Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod. Members, are there any additional comments on the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. And I will assign that floor speech to Assemblywoman Backus. Ms. Thornton, please walk us through Assembly Bill 452.
Assembly Bill 452 revises provisions relating to visitation with offenders in a correctional institution or facility, sponsored by this committee and heard in committee on April 7th, and there are no amendments to the measure. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Ms. Thornton. With that, members, are there any questions? Not seeing any questions, I will entertain a motion to do pass Assembly Bill 452. I have a motion by Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? Second by Assemblywoman Considine. Any additional comments on the motion? Assemblywoman Hanson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I'm going to have to be a no. Was hoping for some more work on this. I love the idea of an ombudsman. So no at this point, but hoping things might be changed. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Assemblywoman. And let me clarify that this bill, we did not accept the amendment. And because this came out of interim committee, and when something's in a joint interim committee, meaning it was both houses, and it was, you know how interim works, I'm saying this really for the public and everyone else, that it had been vetted and voted upon by joint members from both houses throughout the interim, that it was just a quick turnaround to then replace the same thing and all of the work that our fellow colleagues did. So, I'm sorry, did you say you wanted the ombudsman, or you?
Yes, I was more comfortable with the amended version of the bill and more uncomfortable with the onerousness of the original bill, so hoping we could find some work there. But yeah, I'm going to have to be a no at this point, but appreciate the work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. With that, I will go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Nay. Okay, so I have a nay from Assemblywoman Hanson, Assemblywoman Gallant, Assemblyman Urick, Assemblyman Gray, and Assemblywoman Hardy. And with that, the motion passes, and I will assign that floor statement to Assemblywoman Newby. You're welcome. Ms. Thornton, please walk us through Assembly Bill 454.
Assembly Bill 454 revises provisions relating to legal services for indigent defendants, sponsored by this committee and heard in committee on April 3rd, and there are no amendments to the measure.
Okay. Members, any questions on Assembly Bill 454? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to do pass Assembly Bill 454. Motion from Vice Chair Marzola. Is there a second? Second from Assemblyman Yurek. Members, are there any additional comments on the motion? Yes, Assemblywoman Newby?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I am in favor of this bill. I did want to say that I also believe that the two largest counties should adjust their rates for these services as well, but I will be in favor of this bill and moving it forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, members, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. I will assign that floor speech to Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch. You're welcome. Members, please just hold on one more moment. Okay, members, we are going to return and add one more right now, Assembly Bill 309. That's on your original work session documents from before. So, Ms. Thornton, will you walk us through Assembly Bill 309?
Assembly Bill 309 revises various provisions governing common interest communities and condominium hotels, sponsored by Assemblywoman Hanson and heard in committee on March 27th. There's one proposed amendment. Assemblywoman Hanson proposed the following. Amend Section 3, subsection 9B to provide that if an association uses a mechanical voting system to conduct a vote, the voting machine must be located on the common elements within the boundaries of the common interest community. It amends Section 3 by deleting language association allows and replacing it with board determines. It amends Section 3 to require that the association must provide paper ballots by mail to any unit owner who opted out of receiving electronic notices. It amends Section 5 to clarify that the money in the operating account of an association may be withdrawn without the usual required signatures for the purpose of making automatic payments for any services to the associations that are billed on a monthly, quarterly, or annually basis. And lastly, it amends the bill to apply the same changes to NRS 116B. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. Members, are there any questions? Not seeing any, I will take a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 309. Motion. I have a motion by Vice Chair Marzola, a second by Assemblyman Gray. Are there any additional comments on the motion? Not seeing any, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, and I will, so the motion passes unanimously, and I will assign that floor speech to Assemblywoman Hanson. You're welcome. So at this point, again, I thank the public and members for, again, today and tomorrow will be quite fluid. And so what's happening now is we are going to be in recess at call of the chair. If we can return back in here, we do have floor today. If we can return back to Judiciary and get more work done before 11 a.m., we will, unless the members want to vote to push it till 6 p.m. tonight or 7, we can, okay. I just, it's got to be where the votes are, right? So members, just be aware, the goal is to come back in and get more items work session before 11. And so that the public is aware of that too. So we are going to recess, but members, we are going to recess, but that means that I will need you close to your phones, your attachés, everyone else who will chase you around to tell you to get back into committee. But before we do that, we are going to do public comment. So with that, is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to come forward for public comment? Thank you, sir. You will have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Well, this is my second go at AB 117. I'm Anthony Shafton, Shafton of Reno, Nevada. As I read your regulations, they don't actually provide for someone in my situation who hopes that the measure will be passed as written, but would like also to see an amendment. But I will simply restate what I said last time when I was here, that although I realize an amendment of the sort I'm suggesting won't be passed this time, I hope you will think in future of providing for civil action against intimidations by illegal private armed militias. And I will reference again the exhibits I presented last time I was here, a measure currently being considered in the Oregon House, providing for civil penalties, and the model legislation from the Institute for Constitutional Advocacy and Protection to the same purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else here in Carson City that would like to make public comment? Not seeing any. They're in Las Vegas. If you'd like to make a public comment.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I had a question and then an ask. There was some items on the work session that weren't addressed, and I'm not sure, are they going to be put on another work session? There were like 4 items, AB 117, AB 244, AB 356, and AB 368. I just didn't hear anything on those. Wasn't sure if those were going to be pushed forward. And the other item is, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that we have voted on some of those, and some of those are being rolled.
Okay, I'll check on Nellis on those. And also, my other ask is that AB 230, Assemblyman Gray's bill, would be put on the docket before tomorrow, or so that it can be heard in regards to voting. I think that's an exceptional bill that needs to be passed. And AB 400, Governor Lombardo's bill on schools, would love to see AB 400 on the docket before tomorrow, as well as AB 230. And thank you, all fellow legislators, for your excellent work, and I appreciate you standing up for we the people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ma'am, can you state your name and spell it for the record?
Leslie Quinn, LESLIEQUINN. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else there in Las Vegas that would like to make public comment? Not seeing anyone. Broadcasting, will you open the lines, please?
To provide public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, to provide public comment, please press *9 now. There are no callers choosing to provide public comment at this time.
All right, thank you so much. Then I will go ahead and close public comment. And like I said, members, stay close to everyone that will chase you to get you back into committee. We are, and the public, stay tuned. We are in recess, and that's it. Just to let everyone know, we are coming back into Assembly Judiciary. So if you're in the hallway, please come in if the public is interested. Also waiting on our members. All right, welcome back into Assembly Judiciary, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience, because again, everyone's trying to work with a deadline ahead of us and want to make sure we can get out as many bills as possible. Like I said before, it's very fluid and minute to minute at this moment. So the bills we are going to work session right now are Assembly Bill 50, Assembly Bill 292, Assembly Bill 381, 411, and 444. And with that, Ms. Thornton, will you please walk us through Assembly Bill 50?
Thank you, Chair. Assembly Bill 50 revises provisions relating to the prosecution of certain crimes, sponsored by this committee on behalf of the Attorney General, and there are no amendments to this measure. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, with that, members, are there any questions? Not seeing any. I will take a motion to do pass Assembly Bill 50. I have a motion by Vice Chair Marzola and a second by Assemblyman Gray. Members, are there any further discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. I will assign that floor speech to Assemblyman Orlicker. You're welcome. Next, Ms. Thornton, please walk us through Assembly Bill 292.
Thank you, Chair. Assembly Bill 292 revises provisions governing offenders, sponsored by Assemblywoman Gonzalez and heard in committee on March 20th. There's two proposed amendments to this bill. The first one is from the ACLU Nevada. First, it deletes the bill in its entirety. It adds a new section requiring the Department of Correction to provide an incarcerated woman access to certain medical and mental health services. It adds a new section to the bill regarding required limitations on male correction officers interacting with incarcerated women who are in a state of undress. It adds a new section to the bill regarding the provision of feminine hygiene products. Adds a new section regarding maternity and pregnancy care. Adds a new section regarding policies related to pregnancy care. Adds a new section to add additional reporting requirements when restraints are placed upon a pregnant incarcerated woman. The second amendment is a verbal amendment. It would amend Section 3, subsection 2, which would require a female staff to be present when interacting with a woman who is in a state of undress. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Members, are there any questions about Assembly Bill 292? Not seeing anyone? Any questions? I will take a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 292. I have a motion by Vice Chair Marzola. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second from Assemblywoman Newby. All those in favor, please say, oh, okay. Trying to get us to floor. Any further discussion, members? Assemblywoman Gallant.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm going to vote yes, but reserve my right for to on the floor for a possible no, just so we can review the very massive changes to this bill. And I think my colleagues are all going to be in line with me as well. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And we appreciate that. That's the thing with when we're moving amendments so quickly, and again, right now, sometimes we are voting based on the concept of supporting something, but I do appreciate that and know that you all let me know as soon as possible. Assemblywoman Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. And just real quick, just a thank you. Appreciate the work that's been done. We really are thrilled that we can be able to help these women, and I know it took some work to get through all of the issues, and greatly appreciate the help. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Assemblyman Gray?
Real quick, just, Madam Chair, very, very appreciative of the amendments that have happened. I would like to see one more amendment, though, at some point where if a female has to be, in a state of undress in
We
front of a male.
included that. So.
Oh, you've already included it?
Yes, Ms. Thornton,
Well, there we go.
There
So,
we go.
Thank you.
but I will say this, that I also appreciate the bipartisanship, support, and suggestion of, and if you would like to say the rest, Assemblyman Gray.
Okay, ma'am, I'm just going to say, state of undress, for the protection of the inmate as well as the officer, that 2 male officers are present. So it's safer for everybody.
Okay, so this is what the amendment ended up being.
Okay.
What it will be, because, and again, appreciating the dynamics of prison and jail, right? And like anything else, sometimes there's just not 2 people available, but often, also, we felt that it was better to go in the direction of to have another female there. So we understand that there's not always a female officer available, but generally there is female staff. And so what we're going with is that if there has to be a search and there's not a female officer available, then a male officer, but with a female staff. So whether that woman comes from clerical, comes from HR, comes from cafeteria, but there's another woman there as a witness. And that would be reported in that documentation. And like you said, that's there to protect the officer as well.
And that's an even better amendment. I really support that one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Assemblyman Urick, did you still want to make a comment?
Well, since all my colleagues did, I'll jump on there as well and say truly I appreciate the dialogue, the discussion, and the bipartisan support that we've been able to gather behind this. But like my colleagues, I do want to read the final amendment.
Absolutely. Any other comments? All right, with that, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, the motion passes unanimously. I will assign that floor statement to Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Ms. Thornton, 381, please.
Thank you, Chair. Assembly Bill 381 revises provisions governing guardianship, sponsored by this committee and heard on March 31st. There is one proposed amendment to this bill. Assemblyman Nguyen proposed a conceptual amendment, which you can find on the following pages. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any questions about Assembly Bill 381? Not seeing any? I will take a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 381. Motion. Second? Second from Assemblywoman Considine. Members, are there any further comments or remarks about the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so Assemblywoman Hanson, Assemblywoman Gallant, Assemblyman Urick, Assemblyman Gray, and Assemblywoman Hardy are all noes. With that, the motion passes, and I will assign the floor statement to Assemblywoman Cohen. Ms. Thornton, Assembly Bill 411.
Assembly Bill 411 requires certain medical facilities to allow certain patients who are terminally ill to engage in the medical use of cannabis at the medical facility, sponsored by this committee and heard on April 10th, and there are no amendments to this bill.
Thank you. With that, then, members, are there any questions? Not seeing any, I'll take a motion to do pass Assembly Bill 411. Do I have a second? Thank you, Assemblywoman Considine. Members, any comments about the motion? Assemblyman Urick?
Yes, Chair, thanks for the opportunity. I want to just make sure that I go on record and say that I really like the idea here and the idea of allowing this sort of medicinal use and purpose to help people at this stage of life, at end of life. My concern is the potential violation or the actual, at this point, violations of federal law and the fact that it could unnecessarily expose our Nevada in-state providers and hospitals to litigation. And so that's my reservation. And so for that reason, I will be voting no today.
Any addition? Assemblywoman Hardy?
Thank you, Chair. And to sake of time, I will just say ditto to Assemblyman Urick.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. With that, all those in favor? Is that your vote, Assemblyman Gray? I see your hand going up. So was that your vote?
No, Madam
Was that a
Chair,
vote of support?
Real quick comment.
Real
I-
quick.
Normally, I'm supportive of these issues, but as we talked about, the reason I am not supporting this is because when you're, in a medical situation, a lot of times doctors will not even treat you if you're taking supplements or anything. And I think it's even more pressing with a substance that's psychoactive. I think it needs to be between the doctor and the patient, and, saying it's the law, you can do it is just, I think, a step beyond.
And I also appreciate that we need to be, as patients, very candid and honest with our doctors of everything that we're using. But again, the facility would know if we're bringing in the cannabis and securing it. Again, was your hand up because that was okay, so that was not a yes. So all those that are a yes, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Oh, that sounded kind of weak. Okay, Assemblywoman Hanson. So for nay, we have Assemblywoman, okay. Assemblywoman Hanson is a no. Is that correct, Assemblywoman? Assemblyman Urick, Assemblyman Gray, and Assemblywoman Hardy. All right, and with that, the motion passes, and I will assign that floor speech to Assemblywoman Mosca. You're welcome. Our next one, Ms. Thornton, Assembly Bill 444.
Thank you, Chair. Assembly Bill 444 revises provisions concerning child welfare, sponsored by Assemblywoman Backus and heard in committee on April 11th. There's one proposed amendment to the bill. Assemblywoman Backus proposed an amendment that changes various provisions governing proceedings related to the custody, adoption, or protection of Indian children, or the termination of parental rights to provide additional protections for Indian children in state law. And her amendment is on the following pages. Thank you, Chair.
Members, are there any questions about Assembly Bill 444? Not seeing any. I'll take a motion for 444. Motion. Second. I have a motion from Vice Chair Marzola and a second from Assemblyman Gray. Any further remarks on the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, the motion passes unanimously, and I will assign that floor speech to Assemblywoman Backus. At this time, we are done with our work session for now. I'm going to go back into recess, and we'll just go back into recess. It would very most likely, if we come back in, it would be after committees, which would be after 5, 6 p.m., that sort of thing. Yeah, so, but if we also see that our work for today is done, then I will adjourn and make sure that that's out well in advance so that members in the public also are aware that they don't have to, well, members will be here, but that the public knows they don't have to hang around. So with that, and also just want to remind folks, we do have floor, so that's where everyone's headed right now. And, oh, tomorrow morning we will be at 9 a.m. But for now, again, we are in recess.